Hello and welcome to Off the Record. My name is Zach. I speak with Jesse. Hi, Jesse.
How's it going?
It's okay. I feel like we just talked yesterday.
I think it was the day before yesterday, buddy.
That's too much of you.
I feel you. I feel very similar.
Yeah, this is...
But sadly, you have to run off and make the mistake that everybody makes at least once and go on the Warped Tour.
I thought you were going to say go to Vegas or something. Have you ever been to Las Vegas?
You know, I have an impending trip there, but I've only... So here's the quick tangent. Got really drunk with the girl I was dating. Decided we were going to get married. Drove to Vegas.
Love this.
Drove to Vegas.
Do your parents know this?
Yeah, they know it. Drove to Vegas. Saw the lights on the horizon. And by that point, our friend that was driving us while we were very, very drunk and encouraging us, reality hit us, and we turned around and went back to L.A.
Oh, so you were in L.A.?
Yes.
Okay. I love this. This is a great story.
Yeah, about right as the sun was coming up, sobriety kicked in, realized it was a pretty bad idea. I think we were broken up 9 months later, like most of my relationships.
Well, this episode started how they all do. Yeah, so this episode of Off the Record you're listening to has come out on the 18th of June. We are recording it a week early because, like Jesse alluded to, I am off to the California dates of Warped Tour to work on my tank top tan that my girlfriend does not appreciate and that Jesse will make fun of me for. So
that's true. You got an impending graduation party that I'm gonna definitely have some good tank top tan jokes for.
Oh yeah, that'll be right after I get back, and I will be brown and white.
You're always pretty brown though for such a white guy.
It's the Jewish skin. It's the Israeli skin. So this week we have some brief follow-up from streaming. We don't want to talk about streaming all day because we did that last time, and we make you guys listen to that so often. So we're going to get into a few things. The first starts, as I'm looking at our show notes, it is titled Billy Corgan Fuckboy Logic. So Jesse will start.
So Billy Corgan is stupid.
Who is Billy Corgan? If in case there's people like me that wouldn't know, I do know, by the way. I'm just saying.
So Billy Corgan is the singer of the band that made 2 great records and then tons of terrible records, yet people still hold them in revere, the Smashing Pumpkins. Billy has lost his mind in recent years. He does all sorts of weird things. He thinks people still want to see his lineup just with him and not with original members, despite the fact that, you know, Jimmy Chamberlain, one of the greatest drummers in rock history, was his drummer, and he thinks he can replace them with like 17-year-olds.
I was talking to a friend. They either played this year or last year. They played Soundwave in Australia, and they went out to dinner with a few bands, one that I'm friendly with, and apparently he didn't say a single word at dinner. He just stared off into the abyss. So I feel like that lines up well with your description.
Yeah, he's losing his shit. Now, admittedly, the man has made some of my favorite songs, some of my favorite records of all time, but so he thinks that streaming music services are going to bury unknown and independent artists, and it's going to make the pop music world get bigger. Then there's these things called facts that he's not very familiar with.
What is that?
As I recall, he also was voting Republican, so it makes sense that he's not good with facts.
Here we go.
Yep, here we go. So NPR has an excellent article, and so it's called How Streaming Services Are Remaking the Pop Charts. What it's talking about is that we're getting a lot more hip-hop in the charts these days because the streaming services are reflecting how often people keep playing these hip-hop songs. And it even is doing great things for your favorite record of the year, the atrocious Death Cab for Cutie record.
Is it?
Yeah, well, that's what NPR is claiming, and
I love Death Cab for Cutie. I was listening to them this morning.
You know, it was funny. I was out with my girl, and we're in a bar, and Death Cab for Cutie comes on, and she was smart enough to say, she's like, God, who's this watered-down Death Cab for Cutie cover? I'm like, no, that's actually Death Cab for Cutie. That's how bad they've gotten. So even without her knowing.
What's the point? What's the point of me trying anymore?
Mm-hmm. So anyway, because the Billboard Hot 100 charts now incorporate streaming songs, we're now seeing a changing landscape. Now, this was best reflected in when streaming happened, when the first week we saw the Harlem Shake, or was it the Harlem Shuffle? What was that song called?
That was a song, Harlem Shake.
That's what it was. Became a #1 song overnight because this is what happened, and it was so viral. So, oh, yes, Bauer's Harlem Shake. There it is in the article. So, Mr. Corgan, he really has to lay off the Alex Jones and the Glenn Beck and, like, get some facts in his life because this is silly. And just because we love him and we love his guitar tone on Siamese Dream does not mean he's right.
Yeah, I would agree. It is kind of interesting, though, to see that, like, I don't know that I ever really thought that having streaming be so prevalent could actually, like, affect the kind of music that shows up on charts. It doesn't not make sense, but it's interesting to actually see that taking place.
What I think is interesting, too, though, I don't see why you wouldn't see the charts, because we have to remember, it's something we talk about, that one of the better parts about streaming services is, and this is something we've seen across the board, is that, like, everybody talks about, like, can there be another Nirvana? And, you know, as I've argued, Skrillex was that. But one of the reasons we don't see these seismic bands come out anymore that seem to be, like, the bands that everybody likes is because streaming music makes it so easy for you to go down avenues and find similar bands to the ones you like and indulge in them so much easier that now the music is spread thinner. So there's a lot more bands with fan bases than there ever were before that are able to do something, but they're all not getting as big as they used to be.
So you think there's a cap?
I wouldn't call it a cap. What I'm more saying is this, is let's say you have a vat of butter. There's going to be, then you spread it on that toast, there's going to be some mountains, but some of it's going to get very thin.
And molehills.
Mm-hmm. But, like, it's just never going to be like it used to be where it was this big heaping thing of cream cheese in the middle, like a New York bagel. Okay. That always seems to go through the whole.
They're different bread toppings of what would you call toaster, or sorry, not toast, butter or cream cheese?
A condiment.
What do you call them? A condiment?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So it's a different kind of condiment is what you're saying we're moving towards?
I'm saying a different spreading style of the condiment.
Do you prefer butter or cream cheese on a bagel?
So I've had a war with bagels, Zach, as a New Yorker.
What does that mean?
Listen, I'm trying to tell you. So I live by, my subway stop above it is the Bagel Smith, which is incidentally owned by the late night guy, has really great music taste, and his favorite band is Somos. We talk a lot. I go in there to get beers, too, because they have beers late at night. Anywho, this bagel place is fucking amazing. It's 24 hours, and they make the best bagels. But, man, bagels make me feel like shit. But as a New York kid and New Jersey kid, like, you know, I have those Brokeback Mountain moments where I can't quit them. And, like...
Wow!
I've made that joke on this podcast before.
I know. I just thought it would die off.
It's a great joke. It's a really great joke. I have it really hard, but I will say this. I go cream cheese, but black seed bagel, are you familiar?
You're not referring to a poppy seed bagel.
So black seed bagel is a place on Elizabeth Street. You should.
Oh, it's a location.
Now that your lady is in New York City, this is a nice thing.
I'll have Brooklyn updates on our next podcast.
No, great. So right over the Williamsburg Bridge in Manhattan is Black Seed Bagel. Now, these are some expensive-ass bagels, but they are the best bagels you ever eat. Horseradish cream cheese, dog, all I'm saying. Life-changing. Nope. Life-changing.
How do you feel about buffalo cream cheese?
I can get into it.
Man.
So this is my big thing, though, is like, so I've gotten so good at making buffalo wings on my grill, I'm having trouble eating them out now because I can do them better.
That was cocky.
I'm being serious.
I think people are rolling their eyes at you right now.
When you come over for my barbecue, while you won't be able to judge this, all the people who don't have stupid dietary restrictions that they impose on themselves will tell you how great my buffalo wings are when I make them for them, and then you can bow down to my buffalo wing making prowess.
Okay. Very quickly, I will say that I cannot eat. I couldn't even imagine in 2015 putting butter on a bagel. I can only do cream cheese. Those things don't mix in my mind anymore.
I agree. I liked it a lot as a kid. Can't imagine doing it today.
Yeah, I think it's like more of a kid thing. Now I do hope my girlfriend never listens to this podcast, but I do think it is more of a kid thing.
Nice.
So streaming is cream cheese.
Yes.
And music downloads.
No. The old music business is cream cheese. Butter is the new music business.
Because cream cheese spreads better.
Well, no, it spreads thicker with higher mountains.
Okay.
Whereas the butter goes across and melts across and is thinner.
Now you're making me hungry.
I just ate a quesadilla while we were on air.
Great.
I told you one day I'm gonna be the guy, like how David Chang changed ramen and brought it to America, and made it good. I'm gonna be the guy who does that with quesadillas. Like I'm gonna take quesadillas to the next level.
All righty. I did have ramen for the first time.
I saw. I was very excited. It's my favorite food.
It put my mom into a panic, but I did have ramen for the first time. She thought I was going to die. So streaming services are making the pop charts. And there are now there's more charts for us to look at as well. Hypebot has made direct-to-fan sales chart debuts, which I actually find to be pretty interesting. Jesse just showed me them before we went on the air. So, Jesse, what is a direct-to-fan sale?
So direct-to-fan, the way I like to always think of it, I think makes the most sense to people is, so when you buy something from iTunes, so you buy a band's record to support them, then iTunes takes your email, and then they start emailing you about Reba McEntire or maybe Falling in Reverse or something. Whereas if you buy it directly from the band can then put you in their email database and update you on things. So a direct-to-fan sale, not only one, gives the band usually more money, pretty much always. Two, it means that the band is the one selling it to you as opposed to iTunes. And so even though it might be through a service like Bandcamp or Topspin or Limited Run, these sales make it so that you can have a relationship and an interaction with your customers, which is very important. That's a lot of what the new music business is about, is de-aggregating that. The old way of that, it always had to be through a store or something that was 1 to 2 links away from you. Instead, you're going direct.
Totally. Yeah. And so Hypebot is now plugging in information from many, but not all. So it should be said that this is a little bit incomplete. But for many direct-to-fan places like Topspin, Band Merch, Gumroad, Pledge Music, I would like to see some others like Limited Run, a platform that Jesse and I talk about a lot. Like, for example, Bad Timing and Run for Cover and other labels do all of their sales through Limited Run. So that's definitely...
So I would go as far as to say it's the best product out there.
Oh, it's not even... Yeah, it's not even a comparison in my mind. And then, it does not seem like something that's the largest of all of them. Merch Now is in here, but I think it gives you a general sense. And it's definitely interesting to see it broken up in a different way, because some bands can do massive numbers in pre-orders, but they don't have distribution, D to C, which means that the numbers are going to be a little bit skewed. So, for example, when Bad Timing released Knuckle Puck's last EP, While I Stay Secluded, we were only just getting ADA distribution at that time. Man, I don't know, probably like well over 90% of our sales at the first week were direct to fan. And that's really different than most of mainstream music, where it's in stores or on iTunes, etc. So I think it is valuable if this could actually be like a real resource and updated and done properly.
I think what's really interesting, too, is we're able to see which bands' merch sites are being effective, because a lot of these don't have, like, pre-orders up. These are, like for example, the 1975 is number 6, and they have nothing new, really, to sell aside from pink T-shirts. And, you're seeing Zach Brown Band and Kraftwerk, who, barely have made a record in 15 years. Brand New's on here.
What is Kraftwerk?
Kraftwerk were, like, the first. They were like what Ramones are to the punk. Kraftwerk is the dance.
There's a good bar, a good craft beer bar called Kraftwerk in Philly. But
I don't think there's such. I think craft beer and good bar are double negatives. But you go, girl.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Incidentally, to look at this, so I think what's so cool about this chart is you could get inspiration to see like things that are working and like what people are doing from this chart. And I think incidentally, something that you and I have talked about is the Deftones are in this top 25 because they have probably one of the best merch stores in the world.
So then maybe they do have Limited Run as well and Merch Direct, but I don't know. Man, Deftones though.
Great, amazing, one of the best merch stores of all time.
It's just insane to me. I remember distinctively looking at that merch store for the first time and saying, holy shit, how can I become a Deftones fan? Which was a crushing moment for me. And it has not worked yet.
I'm a big Deftones fan, but it's mostly because they're my roommate's favorite band, and by the transitive property, that means I listen to them a lot more than I want. So, moving on from this into other geekery, we wanted to talk about YouTube's new music insights. So, YouTube for years has dabbled with doing analytics for people, but they seem to, every time they launch it, then they're like, you know what, we'll take this down and we'll rework it. But for a while, there was an awesome thing where anybody could see the analytics of a YouTube video. Like, you just click the button and you could see it. And what was awesome is like, so this was when I was starting to manage Man Overboard too. So I could click on, when the Wonder Years were doing the upsides, I could click and learn about like where their most popular cities were and make sure we were touring them and see all sorts of insights about things that I wanted to know to understand their demographic. So now not everybody can see the stuff, but you can see your own and learn a lot of great things.
This is great. I think every once in a while, Jesse and I come back to actionable data, and this is what you want. It's like everyone has to be on a bunch of services. You can't just be on Bandcamp or just be on YouTube. So if you're on Bandcamp, YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook, you should be able to see. You should be able to, clue in that data together to the best of your abilities. And any service that's giving us more is good. And they show good examples of what music is being popular where your fan bases are. And that's really valuable, I think, on YouTube, because I don't really recall seeing it. So they used this artist, Major Lazer, as an example, and he's very popular. But
it's not a he, it's a group. It's Diplo and Switch.
How many things does Diplo do?
A lot. I mean, he's got Jack U.
Is that the guy that just did the Justin Bieber thing that everyone likes?
So that's Jack U, his band with Skrillex. This is his band with Switch. So him and Switch, for example, produced the early MIA stuff. That was very good.
Oh, that Paper Plane song?
They did, in fact, do that song.
That's the only MIA song I know.
Oh, the first record's a classic. I would go as far as to say it's probably one of the best hip-hop records in the history of time.
Wow. Well,
it's an amazing. I would say it's in my top 20 most listened to records in my life.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really amazing record.
Well, Major Lazer, the group. So, for example, YouTube has they use them as an example, and they show stats since September 2014. They have 277 million views, and it shows that they have 5 million views in France, 4 million views in Turkey. That's crazy.
It's because Diplo has this brand as he's an international traveler. He actually was doing a travel show he has actually a travel book that my friend shot, where he goes to all these crazy
in Romania.
Well, so what Diplo does, he has a really great brand of, he goes to these countries and then brings out some of their culture and puts it into dance music. So Major Lazer's first video that was popular is the thing that popularized daggering.
Popularized what?
Yes, I knew you weren't going to know what daggering is. I think you should Google it when we get done.
It sounds concerning.
Yeah, you know what?
Is it sexual or murderous?
It's probably the dance
move. It looks
move.
Sexual. It looks very sexual.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the dance move closest to sex there is.
Daggering is a form of dance originating from Jamaica. The dance incorporates dry sex, wrestling, and other forms of frantic movement. I love that description, frantic movement.
Jumping off ladders onto your partner.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Google images up for this are not great.
No, they're great. I love daggering.
Wow, some really interesting images. Okay, well, don't crash your car.
You learn something new every day talking to me.
I do. So I don't even know what to do from here. Oh, that's what Diplo looks like.
Yeah. Philly
That's
guy.
quite a white guy right there.
Philly guy.
Is he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. He was dating the second whitest girl in the world.
I assume by first is Taylor Swift for you.
Yes. And then Katy Perry.
Oh, what is that? Is she from Philly?
No.
Oh, she's from California. Teenage Dreams, man.
Yeah. These California girls, they're Sorry.
You love that song, man.
Oh, the first two Katy Perry records are classics. This third one, not so much.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Fun fact. The pop punk song on the first Katy Perry record is the mix we used to reference for Man Overboard Real Talk.
Wow. Katy Perry's great. Like, girl has hits.
Yeah. Do you know the pop punk song?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm gonna have to hook you up with this later.
Yeah, I would love that.
It's really good. That's how she got on Warped Tour. I'm convinced. They just played that one song. There's
a manager hookup there.
Yeah, I'm saying the manager played that one pop punk song. That's like banging.
Banging.
It's called Self-Inflicted. I just remembered it.
Okay. So anyway, it shows you where all your views are coming from by city or by country, which is super helpful. Especially like, man, imagine touring Europe for the first time and not necessarily having an agent yet or having one, but being like, hey, this is where I'm really popular. And here are the numbers to back it up just from one service. Or, it's just the more information you can get, the better. And I think this is really good by YouTube to do and hopefully, further dive into.
Well, and then imagine you're a band that doesn't have an agent yet and your video's doing great. This is what you show your potential booking agent. Is if you're doing great and you're like, yo, dog, I'm only playing in my hometown, but there's all these people who keep watching my video and loving my stuff in all these other places. I want to get it done. You want to sign me? Suppy.
Whoa.
I just think it was the first.
We just had a moment. You were trying to drop the mic.
Yeah.
You just used Suppy as a mic drop.
I think that was like the first time I ever used Suppy and not making fun of what defend pop punk fuckboys sound like.
Well, Jesse, once a fuck boy, always a fuck boy.
I like that. That should be on a shirt.
Yep. Okay. Our off the record shirts. An image of daggering and once a fuck boy, always a fuck boy.
It's a shame we're not titling the episode that. Yeah.
To further along our data kick, Songkick and Crowd Surge are merging. You ask, what are those two things? Songkick is a service like Bands in Town that tracks all artists' tour dates and emails fans and keep track of fans that like the bands to have an updated platform. And Crowd Surge is a artist-to-fan ticket seller. So it's more kind of like we were just talking about, direct-to-fan. And they're combining these two things. So Songkick can say, an artist can say, can put ticket information an artist can input ticket information into Songkick, and when Songkick emails fans about new tour dates, they can buy tickets from right within that email rather than having to go another step or more to find tickets. I think this is smart. This kind of sounds like the next evolution of what a product like this should be.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all wished this happens. Like, anytime we get an alert from these services, we've all wished that we could just click it and make life easy. And, the day that we get to that, it just takes 3 clicks to get to a purchase of a ticket from your Facebook feed, we're all going to be really psyched.
Yeah, whatever we can do to just kind of limit the steps, like limit the friction between... I don't know. My thing is, if someone wants to buy something, let them.
Yes.
Don't make it difficult, right? Like that to me is one of the most important lessons I know for myself. Like
the Amazon data set says, is you lose 72% of people for every click you go past 2 clicks.
Totally. And that's why that's why bad timing. We tell people, if you want this, you're able to get it at 2 p.m. at this day. Like if people want something, tell them how to get it. Don't make it a pain. And so I really like this kind of continuation of being able to have fans get what they want. And obviously it's going to help bands potentially tremendously long term if the friction just continues to dwindle. So big fan of this.
Yes, agreed. And it seems like Bands in Town did something very similar.
Yeah, I mean, they are just in total equal competition to each other.
Yeah, they're always pretty much neck and neck and filling the void the other one does. So I feel like it's just that Songkick has more indie bands that actively use it, whereas Bands in Town is more scene.
Yeah, but there happen to be a lot of scene bands, so it's good business for them.
Well, and our listeners love them a scene band.
Oh yes, they love Jack U.
Don't diss that Jack U record. That thing
is it good? I heard it flopped.
I don't think it's flopped.
Didn't they have a big MSG show that flopped?
They did have a big MSG show that flopped, but we discussed why that could be previously.
Yeah.
I don't think that was that. Plus, the record wasn't out then.
So the record's good.
The record's been powering my bicycle rides lately. It's I have to say now. Let me also say this: I had to make a playlist to get rid of a lot of the songs because there's some serious filler on that piece.
How many songs are there on
I think it's like
what
14.
kind of music would you call this?
Well, I would call it progressive dance.
Wow. So we're adding in pre and post and progs to this.
There's always been prog dance. I mean, I was listening to prog dance in '96 when you were like 1 or whatever.
I was 3. Thank you.
Yep.
So let me ask you 2 Jack U questions, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the name?
I mean, dance bands tend to have really bad puns in their names. And as we know, as somebody with puns of steel, I love punishing people with the good puns.
I mean, I think Major Lazer is a cool name.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I would not name my band Jack U with an umlaut.
Umlaut.
Mm.
And what do you think about, do you think this has helped or hurt Skrillex's, where do you think Skrillex's brand is right now?
Well, you got to remember, Skrillex is still can bring in the crowds because he's a brand name, and then you know that you're going to be able to go there, do Molly, and sweat all over everybody.
He's the white face of dance music. Is that accurate?
I would say actually him and Tiesto.
Yeah, I even know who Tiesto is. To me, that's like, that guy has to play every EDM festival, otherwise it's a wash.
He is very popular with the Guidos.
Yeah.
With people who buy bottle service, Tiesto is like Jesus.
Yeah. Damn, that's a good one, Jesse.
Yeah, I try, it just comes natural.
Yep. If you wear a chain around your neck and you are white, you definitely like Tiesto. Is that accurate?
If you've ever looked at Ed Hardy and thought, that's in good taste, you love Tiesto.
Saw this guy on a tight Armani shirt today.
And
like
bad look.
It's bad look, man.
If you see True Religion jeans and you think,
those are something else. What is that?
If you think, I wish I could afford these, Tiesto is your guy.
Do you think those are expensive jeans? I don't know. I'm asking. There's part of me that feels like they are really cheap or really expensive. Like,
I think they're pretty expensive. This is the thing. Those people are the suckers of the world, and that's how it fuels the economy. Is the idiocracy is fueled by people who do that, who buy the hot dog pepperoni pizza from Pizza Hut, etc.
I gotta say, man, I would try that if I had any desire to do that.
You're out of your fucking mind.
So, but just one more thing on Skrillex. I feel like when I was 17 and hated the world like I do now, all of the other 23 students next to me were only listening to Skrillex.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like then he released that surprise
so he put out his debut record.
Yeah.
And it's a piece of shit.
Oh, really?
I mean, like, I'm a huge Skrillex fan, and I can't even listen to that one song on that record.
Wow. So, but you like this Jack U album?
I think this Jack U record's fantastic.
So, do you think
this Jack U record will probably be I don't know if I'm going to go top 10. Let's say it's going to be my top 20. Now, we should also qualify this with I listen to so little music that basically, if I listen to a record more than 4 times, it goes in my top 20.
So do you think do you look forward to more from him in the future as Skrillex himself, or do you think it's a wash?
I think Skrillex is a stunningly good artist who can make great music in the future. I mean, he made a song where I actually want to hear Justin Bieber sing. That's
the tweet I continue to see. Like, yeah, fuck this band for making me. Fuck this band for making me like Justin Bieber.
I saw Josh Topolsky tweeted it today.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Yep.
Well, I mean, we're living in the same Twitter stream, apparently.
Yeah.
So you want to do some
Twitter
questions?
Streamers. Yeah, I love questions. Our lovely listeners can continue to ask us questions by tweeting #AskOTR or just tweeting at Jesse about wings, chicken wings.
So at Alex number 2.
Not number 1. Dude was keeping his eye out.
No, it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So Alex number 2 wants to know, what should an independent band look for in a manager? What are some red flags to be aware of?
Okay, I had this talk yesterday, actually. Okay, I was like, when did this happen? It's tricky, but it is also easy, and I'm aware that those things do not work together. In my mind, what can a manager do for you that you cannot currently do for yourself, or that you shouldn't be doing for yourself? So if you're a band that is moderately successful, and meaning that you have somewhat of a fan base, you can tour places, but you need to be touring more. You want to be touring more, and you want to be better at merch, etc. And you're looking around for a manager. Should you just take anyone? Should a friend who says, "Hey, I've been working as a TM or a merch guy for a while. Let me manage you." Is that the educated choice, or is it not? And to me, what matters is if you're a band and you've done a bunch of independent tours by yourself, you're friendly with other bands, you've gone on a bunch of shows, you've sold merch well, etc. Like, let's just say you're doing okay for yourself. You have a head on top of your shoulders, and you want a manager, but you like, what can that guy do for you or girl? Like, if someone approaches you and you do not think they're a person that can competently get you a booking agent or work with your booking agent to get a tour or work to get a better record label, etc., well, then what are they doing for you? I'm going to assume that as a small independent band, you might not be bringing in all the checks. So even putting the 15% aside, it's just a matter of how can the manager that you hope to get you better tours, help make you better decisions. What are their stance on merch stores? Where should you have merch stores open? Where do they get merch? Like, there's a lot of things to consider. And while someone's saying, "Hey, let me manage you, I think I'm pretty smart," is definitely like maybe a little bit of an ego boost. To me, a manager should help do what the artist can't. And what I will say, because I've been having this problem over the past few days, is a manager does not mean a band does not have to work. A band should always do as much or more than the manager. It's your life. It is your career. The manager works for you, but the boss should not be taking a day off. Every member in a band can do different things, and bands should always be working as hard or more than the manager. And I think that's incredibly important as well.
I agree with all of that. I think the things I'd like to add is, I have a part of my book where I talk about a good test for a first manager is if a manager can't tell you a lot of things in the first 3 hours that you're talking that you don't already know, like if they literally can't tell you things that you can't figure out yourself, you're probably gonna have a bad relationship. 2, what is their vision for you? And it shouldn't be get an opening gig opening for you too. Like, it needs to be this is how we get there with very tangible ideas of how you do that stuff. 3, if they've worked with other people, there's no problem to write them, call them, have a friend introduce you, and say, what was it like to work with this person? Why did the relationship end? Not just because somebody doesn't work with somebody doesn't always mean the relationship ended badly. Sometimes it's very amicable. But find out what those things are. And then 4, I think the ability to have a pretty insane work ethic is really it. There's so many people who are failed by their managers who clock a 9 to 5 and 4 hours as just gossiping with other people in the music business.
Totally. And to me, unfortunately, this is something that you won't be able to see from a manager until you're working with them. But
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Oh, no, sorry. I wasn't saying that. I was saying something else. Like, okay. I'm adding to what you're saying.
Gotcha.
Managers should be bringing bands ideas that they're not having. And that does not mean the band is dumb or that you're dumb or anything. It's just the perspective. Bands are in the trenches. That's the job.
Yes.
Managers should be seeing what other bands are doing or seeing what other bands aren't doing, what works and what isn't, and be bringing ideas to the table. How can we're announcing a new album? How can we ensure that as many people know about it as possible? Knucklepuck, by the time Knucklepuck announced their album today on 6/11. We set the band's Bandcamp to free downloads all week, and we got 11,000 new downloads and 5,000 new email addresses. And we're going to be using those email addresses. And we're going to be using those email addresses to add to our mailing list to send out a big newsletter the night before pre-orders go out. So everyone knows, and this goes back to what we were talking about just a minute ago. So everyone knows that at X o'clock on Friday the 19th, this first song is up, and so are the pre-orders. So don't miss out. That's just an example, but it's the little things that can end up making a big difference, short and long term.
Agreed, and that is everything Zach said there, that's strategy. And if the manager doesn't get that and is not interested in that type of stuff, then
right. So much is kind of, so much is standardized. Like you have an album rollout, you have a tour announcement, but it's how you plug in other things around the general instances that happen in everyday life for bands and make it better, that show that you can go the extra mile. And that's like a hard answer. It's very difficult to know if a manager is going to do that or not. But those are the kind of things you want to have.
Yeah, there's also no reason. A lot of managers will. I mean, I have said this before, I think, on the podcast, that every time I took a band on a band, we're doing a trial period at first, and we're seeing if we like working. Because there's like one band I managed. After like a few months, I was like, you know what, these guys they're what we like to call, one, they were punishers, and then two, they were self-sabotagers, and I saw that they were self-sabotagers, so I'm like, you know what, I can't take my time with self-sabotagers.
Nothing more upsetting than the self-sabotager.
There's a lot of them out there, and you got to learn.
So many.
You got to learn to do that. But we should get into the question that kind of piggybacks on something you just talked about.
Okay.
Which is from Stephen X Burial.
Dude, he's edge.
I mean, that's just fuck. That's 2 X's, dog.
Damn.
About how often should I try to send email updates for my band? How often is too little or too much? So my thing is always this. There's 2 types of emails. There's geo-targeted emails. Geo-targeted emails is when you get the zip code from people, or let's say they're signing your book at the show, you have to always write the zip code of where you played because they're willing to come to that place. Geo-targeted emails can be sent every time you're playing locally because that is relevant to the people. Now,
every time, Jesse. Every time, listener. That's what Jesse said.
I think every time you're playing in a town, you can do that. Now, if you're punishing people by playing your local town as like
17 times.
Yeah.
And by the way,
maybe spare people, so there is an exception. But then there's general full email system blasts.
And I would say this also clues in, by the way, kind of just to that conversation we were having about bands in town and Songkick. Make sure that your tour dates are included on Bands in Town and Songkick, because they will also send emails once a week for all shows of artists you like in your area.
Great point. Great point.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Then there's the email blast wide. I tend to be of the mind that some people are like, you should send a monthly thing about what you're up to every single month. I do not agree. Emailing somebody is a privilege, and if you send it every month, they're going to be annoyed, even though that doesn't seem like
it's a tricky balance. Thomas and I go back and forth on bad timing all the time. We view our newsletters as being very important because, again, it's how we tip people off. Like, hey, this is going on sale. And I end up actually wanting to send newsletters much more often than Thomas does. And we meet somewhere in the middle. But, if we have a new release announcement, I want to be able to, just get the word out there and make sales for us and for the artists and so on. But there is definitely a balance. So if bad timing has 4 releases in a month, we should not be sending 4 newsletters, right? So it's more like, well, should we do 1 or 2 kind of thing? And I think most of the time we'll settle on 1. And that does not mean that I'm advocating or not advocating for 1 newsletter a month. It's just kind of, what do you have going on? So to me, like, there are a few prime things to send newsletters for: album announcement, tour announcement. And then the one thing I think that kind of gets overdone is, look, bands have like merch sales 5 times a year. Don't send an email every time you have a merch sale.
It's true.
If you have like a 50% merch sale and you're really trying to move stock, sure. But don't inundate fans on that note. Like something I like that Blink does, they typically do a holiday shirt for every holiday. Or, not every, but marquee holidays. And they'll send a newsletter out about that because they're limited and they want fans to be able to get them. Otherwise, they get bummed out if they don't see a tweet or something. And I find that to be valuable. It's gotten me to buy a bunch of Blink shirts. So I think it's about being smart. You don't want people to be unsubscribing. How can they get value out of it, basically?
Yeah. And I think there's another, like, you really have to look at this as somebody on the other side of it, which is that, like, really you don't want to abuse a privilege, and people do feel like their mailboxes are a little sacred sometimes. But if you want
0, Jesse.
Yeah, I've been very bad at that lately. I was just bemoaning that So, Zach, I imagine you've never used the site OkCupid, have you?
I haven't. I had never. So my friend recently went through a thing where he is now single, and he has been using Tinder, and I had never seen Tinder before. And I took his phone yesterday. I was like, "Whoa, this is weird." I have not used OkCupid. All these sites like are interesting to me, but just because I don't even like, I know like you swipe right or you swipe left.
Yes.
So it was fun for me yesterday to see what Tinder was like.
So to take this back to email.
Yes.
OkCupid is a thing that says replies very selectively. I think when you email somebody, you should be able to see a thing on their email that says is absolutely terrible at emailing, their life is a fucking mess. Because I need that right now, because the amount of email I get compared to how much time I can devote to doing that instead of getting people's records done and working on startups and podcasts and books, it just sucks.
Jesse, tell the people how productive I am with email.
So I should say this because I work directly with Zach. Zach and I will email Zach back the second I see one, but Zach is the fastest emailer in the business.
I'm known for that, and I hate email. I don't think I talked to you about. Was it you? Oh, it was, right? We talked about why I like email, or no?
I think we did talk about this. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I used to love email, and now it's just like it is my nightmare.
It's punishing. The biggest stress in my life, the number one thing on my quantum to-do list is figure out how email doesn't make you miserable anymore.
Ugh. There's just no way. It's like it's the internet's form of cancer. It's just going to be there.
Jesus.
It's going to come in and out. It's never going to go away. Sometimes you might be in remission, but it's probably going to come back.
Well, there's some validity to that.
Thank you. I know that was heavy-handed, but I really feel that strongly about it.
Probably should have handed that to me as the cancer survivor, because I could say anything I want about cancer. It's like racial slurs.
But I feel like because you're my one cancer friend, I'm allowed to say things about cancer.
Oh, that's good. Very, very well done. Very well done.
Thank you. Hey, I've been really getting quicker lately.
Yeah, I have to say, maybe your brain's freed up now that school's over.
Yes, I so far I have 1A, 1A minus, and 1C minus, Jesse. So I'm gonna pass, I think.
So are you gonna pick up like 5 new responsibilities when school gets out?
5 new TV shows.
Nice, very well
done. You want to know what I got my C minus in?
What'd you get your C minus?
American popular music.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're terrible at that.
Jesus. Okay.
So the next question comes from @TimC Sheehan. And it says, what makes a city an A, B, or C market? Is it merely ticket sales?
I think this is a great question.
Yeah,
because I think this, to a lot of people, is industry lingo. Mm-hmm. And they never know what it means, which is totally okay.
And it's industry lingo that if you follow bands, they drop this like it's the most casual knowledge on the planet. Like they're just
and it's
like,
funny because it's
do it all
actually
C's this time around. And it's like
it's not actually like a gross term, or it's a very it's a valuable kind of whatever name to a whole. It's a valuable name for the discussion, but no one knows what the name refers to. So an A market is the markets that are most populated and like music. Do you think that's fair summary? We can list off some of the markets.
Sure.
Cool. Yep. So New York, LA, Boston, Chicago,
Dallas,
San Francisco, Philadelphia, the major cities. There can be technically like, so obviously New York City is much more populated and probably much more well attended for music than Detroit maybe, right? But Detroit is still an A market that does very well, and it is the A market of Michigan. So in most states there are A markets unless it's kind of like North Dakota, where no one in punk is going to go listen to punk music, I guess. You think there's anything in North Dakota?
There's, a lot of bands.
You ever been there?
I actually have. But you want to know what was funny about North Dakota? That was the last state it was either North Dakota or South Dakota. Obama hadn't even gone to one of those until this year. He'd been to every other state.
Rules.
But he's like, what the fuck do I got to go here for? There's nothing fucking here. What the fuck?
That's great. So let's use, maybe New York's a good example. It's okay, but we'll use New York. Manhattan A market. Long Island, B market. I guess there's not really a C market in New York.
Yeah, Altoona, Pennsylvania. C market.
Okay, you want to do that? Oh, so Pennsylvania, let's say. Philadelphia, A market. Lansdale or Westchester, B market. Altoona, C market. You think that's decent?
I think you're doing great.
Thank you. Yeah, so if a band is headlining for the first time off of a new album, they're going to do an A market tour. So they're going to hit all the normal tour spots. Usually a second headlining tour will be in markets like in B markets. So they'll still play Long Island, but they won't play Manhattan because they want to cater to different fans. And oftentimes the venues are smaller because there's less fans in B and C markets. You typically see B and C market tours combined because you still need to get from city to city or town to town. And you can't just skip over 5 states because that's inefficient. So instead of playing Chicago, you'll play Joliet or DeKalb. I don't know how to...
DeKalb and Joliet.
Yes, thank you. So you play around the city in the suburbs or a little farther out.
Yeah, a lot of college towns.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of college towns. So that's a pretty good question. Thank you. So this is from @Dan Arnder. Always wondered, how are record sales projected? Is it based on a % of pre-sales? Does back catalog matter? So it's a few different things. So if the Story So Far sold 15,000 copies of their last album, and the band has since gone on larger support and headline tours, and their following has only greatly grown, you would hope, just in a very basic setting, you would hope for the same or much better in sales, right? Right. And so for an early projection, you would say, oh man, they did 15,000. We're really going to hope between 18 and 22 this time. Because in general, I think it's also, you also have to look at the scene around you. So while, I don't know what a good example is, while A Day to Remember can sell 100,000 copies of a new album, the Story So Far are and where A Day to Remember are very different. So what's like a companion or a colleague of the Story So Far? You would say the Wonder Years. Well, the Wonder Years' last album did 18,000 copies first week. And that was their third kind of mainstream album. And this is Story So Far. So you first go off of recent activity and touring size and off of contemporaries. And then you start plugging in pre-order numbers. So if the album in one day did 3,000 D2C pre-order, direct-to-fan pre-order sales on Merch Now, that might mean X or Y. And then, so then people typically put up their album for digital pre-orders on iTunes and Amazon, and you get that information either weekly or daily. So you can continue to see how pre-orders are going online and on digital platforms, and then you kind of put together, if 15,000 people, and this would be a lot, if 15,000 people have pre-ordered an album before it's come out, well, you can probably guess a lot more people are going to buy it the day of. So there's a lot of information you put together. It's not a direct science by any means.
So our last question for the day, I find very insulting.
Really?
At Tim C. Sheehan said, is Jesse Ken's love for Chunk No Captain Chunk true or ironic? I don't like anything in this world, ironically. I fucking love Chunk No Captain Chunk.
Have you listened to their new album?
We talked about this. It's just not as good. It's just not as good. The Joey Sturgis one is THX core pop punk at its best, man. That record just, it gets me pumped up on the bike ride, man. When I want to keep it a little less dance music-y and a little bit more true pop punk. I mean, dude, putting crabcore with pop punk, how could it be more genius? And how could I get more pumped up?
What if they made an R&B-mo album?
I don't think they'd be very good. You see, the thing for R&B-mo, and I wanted to say this too, that I do feel like maybe I misstepped on the R&B-mo.
Oh, no.
Because I was thinking about it, when that fucking horrible Fall Out Boy song came out, the This Ain't a Scene, This Is a Goddamn Arms Race one.
It's one of my least favorite Fall Out Boy songs.
That's a truly atrocious song. Like that, I get like when people say Fall Out Boy is the worst band of all time. If I had only heard that song, I would probably agree.
It's so bad.
and I enjoy much of their other catalog. But when he started singing like an R&B star, and then that became really popular, I feel like that was really the R&B moment.
Really?
Yeah, maybe that what was.
Okay.
Like everybody got into R&B for like a hot minute there, and then like you got like the Cab and like all these like
and I was
these
never
like bands
into
I
any
just
of
hate.
that.
Yeah, I mean like
It
there's
I was like,
very few moments of pop punk I've hated more.
The Cab is a really good example. I was just like, I don't get this.
Yeah, well, I mean, Zach, let's be honest. When you're as white as you can't get R&B.
I didn't get why people in our genre liked it.
Is there any R&B you've ever liked?
Like, there's hits on the radio that I'm not offended by.
Not offended by, but you don't like. Like I'm a
classic Usher, man.
Okay, so I will go there. I'm a huge fan of some Usher songs. I'm a huge Prince fan. Huge.
Usher, I heard an Usher song somewhere yesterday. I was like, damn, still got it.
Janet Jackson, 80s Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis period, some of my favorite music of all time.
I find R&B, like, I don't dislike R&B at all. I find it to be good, like, radio or party music.
Sure.
On like a lawn there as a party kind of music. You know what I mean? I find it to be pleasant and not offending.
Pleasant and not offending, says
like
Zach
rock
Cirillo.
music. Rock music, I think, is very broad, and so it's offensive to any other person that does not like that kind of music.
See, but this is the thing I have with rock music. So right now, if you could consider who would you consider the face of rock music today? Because I would consider it the Foo Fighters.
I would also, I would say for the last 10 years.
And then so maybe if we took the newest band, it would be Imagine Dragons in the mainstream. These bands are, well, while I'm offended by how bad they are the least offensive, most dad rock bullshit, pussy, lame thing. And so I think that's the thing is, I love an offensive rock band like a Guns N' Roses, but there is nothing offensive about these little old men prancing around.
I think if we went to a party and there were people like us there and R&B was playing, or like Imagine Dragons rock was playing, we would not be offended by the R&B, but we would be like, man,
get that off.
Right.
There's no way new Foo Fighters and Imagine Dragons is being played at the party without us busting out our iPhones.
That's what I'm saying. So
I'm with you, dog. I don't think that's happening at your graduation party.
What do you think's happening at my graduation party? What kind of music should we play?
Well, I imagine what's going to end up happening is your parents are going to take control of it and they're going to celebrate you. So maybe we'll be listening to some of your bands.
I hope not.
I like that you just ugh your own bands that you represent.
I'm going to take my parents to like. This will be the first time they hear this, but when if and when Knuckle Puck play a show in the fall, I want to take my parents to it. And like show them what I currently do, but when I don't sit at a computer, you can go to that show in New York. So
I will be there.
Yeah. So I think it would be really, the only issue is like my mom usually goes to bed at 9, but she'll have to make an exception that night.
That is going to be something.
Chuck No Captain Chunk, R&B Mo, we did it. Thank you for listening to Off the Record this week. Jesse and I will be back maybe on the 25th. I think that sounds right, with a brand new episode. And we'll be talking about all sorts of music genres and fuck boys. Thank you.